Hey everybody, welcome to the Bocce Piles channel. I'm your host Brian, and it's Friday, so we all know what that means. It's time for everybody's favorite Tier 3 combo aggro control deck, Rug Food Chain. So for this week, well, we've made a few changes since last time. So what are we doing here? Well, we've cut down to 3 of our namesake card Food Chain to get the third Uro in the main deck. And so the previous list only had 19 blue spells, which is a little bit low for the purposes of Force of Will. So this extra blue card is going to improve the consistency of the deck. An Uro is a bit of a win con in of itself. I mean, it'll take control of the game if we get to attack with it a couple times. And it's also an outlet for Food Chain. You know, it's something you can do with infinite mana. And so cutting a Food Chain, it moves the deck slightly away from the combo game plan, and we're more in on just being a grindy deck that has a way to close out games. And that's pretty much what the deck is trying to do anyway. And so conceptually and philosophically, I think that this approach makes some sense. Now, regarding the sideboard, what I've done is I've cut Endurance. And I guess I wanted Endurance before for matchups where I cut Fury to be some kind of thing to pitch into play and then exile the Food Chain to get the Food Chain rolling. Well, we're just going to say nuts to that. I mean, those matchups, those are going to be like blue-black scam and 4 or 5 color control. So we're just going to see how it goes without Endurance. I don't see why. I mean, you really want the Food Chain, pitch Fury, make mana, play a big Hydroid Krasis. I mean, that's probably at its best against a really fast deck like Initiative. And so Scam and 4 or 5 color control are not fast like that. And so, yeah, for those matchups, we still have like Veil of Summer. We're going to play 2 copies of the Magus of the Moon. We're playing no copies of Force of Vigor, which, I'll miss Force of Vigor to take out like Leyline Binding and up the Beanstalk against 4 or 5 color control. But we are going to be playing 2 copies of the Magus of the Moon, and I think it should be relatively easy to Magus some opponents out. Also, against lands, we're going to be missing Force of Vigor on Sphere of Resistance, which can stop the Food Chain combo. But again, we have Magus of the Moon. And I am playing Force of Negation here, and Force of Negation is a really good one against lands. Like it can counter the Sphere of Resistance, or it can exile life from the loam. So the overall strategy here is to have a nice grindy deck that can beat, most fair strategies. And then we have a sideboard equipped to actually be able to beat unfair decks in post-sideboard games, which has been the premise all along, but we've had some trouble, I think, beating unfair decks and, post-board. Yeah, all right, so we're going to give this a shot here. So let's do it. All right, so we're on the draw for game 1. And we've got an overall pretty reasonable-looking hand with a good mixture of spells. But the opponent has a turn 1 defense grid, and that's going to be tricky to beat. So I don't think we care about Wasteland. So our best bet here is to somehow find Food Chain, play it on turn 3, and get the win. And so there's the Food Chain. What we're missing here is like a red card and the Imperial Recruiter. So we need like 2 red cards here to really pop off. But, all right, well, we need the Food Chain. Okay. So I think I probably do just want to play the Ice-Fang on turn 2. Like, we need Imperial Recruiter. Well, and Squee or Imperial Recruiter and Walking Ballista or Hydroid Krasis. All right, the opponent has Urza Saga. They're playing Serum Powder. I mean, so it's possible that I could ponder and then brainstorm to find what I need to win next turn. So I guess that's my best bet here. Yeah, I mean, these look like the things, huh? But we're just a mana short is the only thing here to have actually casting the food chain. I guess I'm just going to go for it and brainstorm right now. And man, we actually get there and find the third land. So if we survive one more turn, we're going to win with food chain. Well, no, not quite, huh? We can make like an infinitely large Questing Druid. No, wait. No, we do have it because Fury pitches to Fury. Man, this was an incredible couple cantrips here. Okay. All right. So I guess I'll keep all these cards in hand. I don't think they're going to be playing any discard spells. If they play a discard spell, we're not in good shape. I guess I'm going to hide the Ice-Fang Coatl in the food chain here. Okay, we're getting the rips here, so we're ripping the right cards. That's incredible. All right, we just got to survive this turn. Okay, so they've got Karn the Great Creator here. Now that does shut off Walking Ballista, but we can probably use the Fury to take it out. But what are they going to wish for here with Karn is the question. The One Ring. All right, they're passing the turn, so that means we're going to win. It's just a question of whether I can successfully play Food Chain and then exile this Fury before it goes to the graveyard. All right, I think my opponent can sense their doom here. So let's play Fury. Exiling Fury. So we'll target the Karn. And then we'll exile Fury for red mana. And I think I'm in the clear now that I've successfully navigated that operation. Then we can recruit for Squee. And we can recruit for Walking Ballista here. And we'll see if our opponent wants to sit through a bazillion clicks or not. Okay, and they do go ahead and concede, thankfully. All right, so we don't have Force of Vigor, but the Ouphe and Force Negation and maybe Magus of the Moon are bombs. So Lightning Bolt doesn't seem like it does a lot here, although it does pitch to Fury. But if the opponent gets Karn into play, what we're going to need to do is play Krasis for a bunch, draw a bunch of cards, and then Fury the Karn. And then from there, we can go for Walking Ballista, which is a lot of clicks, but we did end game one in relatively short order. And so I think I'm just going to trim on Uros. We are bringing in 2 more blue cards in the form of Force Negation. I mean, Collector Ouphe, maybe it doesn't do the most here, but it does block Saga tokens. I guess I'll have to try this. All right, so this hand has Force, Cantrips, Magus of the Moon, and Questing Druid. I mean, it's going to be good enough for me. Turn 1 Saga from the opponent, and a Manifold Key. All right, they pass it back. We find a land. That does not hurt my feelings. Okay, well, there's a food chain and an Uro and a cantrip. So we're not very close to comboing with the food chain, but we have a bunch of cantrips and we can shuffle our library next turn. And Questing Druid's kind of a combo piece. So I guess I'm going to keep. All right, the opponent's playing a Grim Monolith. I mean, I think we need to save Force of Will for the payoffs rather than the mana producers. There's a defense grid, so this is like the last thing that we can force a will. So I guess I'm going to force the defense grid. All right, they're going to untap Grim Monolith. Voltaic Key, so they can untap the Monolith again. All right, so they're going to have a bazillion mana next turn, is what it comes down to. All right, so I mean, Force of Will for the next crazy thing that they do into like Magus of the Moon is probably the best that I can hope for. And I mean, unless we found all the nuts to win next turn. Magus of the Moon really doesn't do that much from here, I don't think. So just keeping a basic land. I mean, it'll turn off Urza's Saga, but they have infinite mana already. Thanks to their Grim Monolith plus 2 keys. I'm just going to shuffle. Okay, I think Force of Will is probably a pretty good rip. See, I fetched a basic island there because I thought Magus the Moon would be important, but it's going to be costly because I'm going to want to pitch the Brainstorm to Force of Will. And then we won't have a way to get to our third mana. So I'm going to have to decide if I want to just Brainstorm and pray to find a mana source plus blue card. And I guess we'll see what happens right here. All right, another Monolith. Well, they have infinite mana already. And another Grim Monolith. Okay. So we don't have to deploy the Brainstorm here. And I guess they didn't make a Construct token on their turn. We ripped a land. So what do I want to do here? Well, playing Magus of the Moon doesn't really matter. It would lock me out of green if I get the basic forest here. Well, if I get the basic forest, I can't play the Magus of the Moon. And then, so we play Magus of the Moon, and we only have blue. I don't think the Magus matters. So I guess what I'm going to do is get the food chain into play here. And we're holding up force, and then we can reload with Seek the Beast. All right, so they're just passing the turn. Well, there's the Squee. Which I just can't quite cast. I could play Magus of the Moon and then use that to get the Squee into play and then make an infinitely big Druid. That's probably worth doing. It seems like they don't have it over there. I'm just going to exile this for red. Play the Squee. And then, so we got to make a bunch of mana here. Okay, so now we can exile this for green. Play a Questing Druid. Play Squee. And so I'm just going to pause while I make a pretty big Druid, and we'll have Force back up, and seems like that's going to be good enough against their board. Okay, so we've gone and made an 18/18 Druid, and we could always make it bigger next turn if needed. And it's a question of whether our Force of Will is good enough to beat the 2 cards in their hand. So a Mystic Forge, so that's one that we definitely want a Force of Will. That lets them play artifacts off the top of their library, and they get a bunch of rebuys with their Voltaic Keys. And the other card must be what they had in their hand from last turn, and that seems to be a dud, and they're ready to concede. Okay. Okay, round 2 on the draw. It's a 1-lander, but we've got Fury and Force and Cantrips and Bolt. So, I mean, this is all fine stuff we've got going on here. All right, so they ponder and choose not to shuffle. So I'm just going to get a basic island here. We've got a lot of cantrips that we want to cast. We don't want to get wastelanded by what's probably an opponent playing Delver. This is not more land, so I'm going to shuffle. All right, we do the shuffle. We draw another Force and pass it back. Brainstorm from the opponent. Okay, and they just pass. It makes me wonder if somehow, this is not a tempo deck that we're playing against. They would usually play something like a creature by now. Most of the builds are on 4 Delver, 4 Dragon's Rage. But in any case, we're going to keep on pondering. Lands look good. So I guess I'm going to draw the blue card in case we need to double Force of Will. And we have some lands on top of our library. All right, they crack Misty and the upkeep. This land should be telling with regard to their game plan. So maybe it is just Temur Delver with a slower start here based on this tropical island. Oh, well, there's a Tundra, so maybe it is in fact just like 4 or 5 color control then. Okay. So we could go ahead and like recruit for Questing Druid here. Yeah, I think that is fine. We have more cantrips to find another land next turn. I mean, this kind of reveals what we're on. But the whole kind of point of this deck is that it can grind, and that's just what we're going to do with this Questing Druid. So, yeah, we're getting that Questing Druid and passing it on back here. Xander's Lounge. Okay, pretty clearly then probably 4 or 5 color beans with the leyline bindings and whatnot. Oh, there's a copy of Food Chain. So I'm going to attack with Imperial Recruiter. See if that gets any action from the opponent. It doesn't. We're going to ponder looking for a land, which we find. Okay, and I'm just going to pass here, and then we'll be seeking the beast. This seems like a good a time as any to seek the beast. All right, so we've got a bunch of Questing Druids and Ice-Fang Coatl. All right, so they grab a Mystic Sanctuary. I'm just trying to make my cards visible here. Okay, and put Brainstorm on top of their library with the Mystic Sanctuary. That's cool. Another lightning bolt. Okay. So I guess I'm going to attack with Imperial Recruiter. And then, oh man, we can only play... We are missing a green source to play both of our guys here. All right, so I guess I'm going to start with the Ice-Fang Coatl and see if that draws a land. Opponent's brainstorming in response. Maybe looking for a Bowmaster. All right, the Ice-Fang is in. All right, I gotta... Oh, okay, here we go. Maybe a Bowmaster is about to happen. It looks like it. All right, I'm not going to bother forcing that, but I will Lightning Bolt the Bowmaster. All right, that happens. They get to kill the Coatl. We draw another Coatl. All right, so we're just going to lose this Questing Druid. I think that's okay, but maybe I just do want to fire off a Brainstorm here and try to hit the land drop anyway. Okay, we don't hit the land drop, but we've got a bunch of combo ingredients and whatnot. All right, I probably don't need both food chains because I can only play one food chain per turn. All right, so the opponent's tapping a bunch of mana with a 4th Earlingus for 3. And I almost just don't care about this. But maybe I should force it anyway. Yeah, I guess I'll just force it. Yeah, I think I can afford to force this. We might end up just getting a giant Hydroid Krasis next turn. The opponent wants to force back. So I could force again here. See, the thing is, we're going to be Furying and getting a giant Krasis, and so maybe I just don't care about all these 4th tokens. Yeah, I'm just going to save the Force of Will and make sure my food chain resolves, and I'm pretty sure we have this. Okay, so they're going to get in for 4 here. That's cool. So we're going to be able to clear their board with a Fury. Unless they have, you know, 2 more Force of Wills, basically. All right, so I'm going to play the food chain. Food chain's in. So I'm going to... See, I want to clear the board. Like, I want to attack with this Imperial Recruiter this turn. So I'm going to Fury pitching the Lightning Bolt. Okay, Fury's in. We can take out their guys. And then we can exile the Fury for red mana. And then we can play Imperial Recruiter. And then we can get the Squee. And then we can play the Squee. So it's just a matter of not timing out here. So I'm going to try to do this all as quickly as possible. Okay, yeah, the opponent's asking, you know, what we're doing here. So I'm just saying we have an infinite big Druid, and then we're going to play this Uro and kind of see where it is. I don't know if the opponent thinks they can beat all this. I'm going to be back in a second after I make some mana. Okay, so I'm at the point where I've got Uro cast. We'll see what this draws. The land, I don't hate it. And so we're going to get to play Uro again from the graveyard. Okay, so we've looped enough to get Uro. So we draw one more card. Man, I should have shuffled first. I think we knew that was the other food chain. But in any case, we get to attack with this Imperial Recruiter, and we've got the Monarchy here. And so now we get to play with this crazy-ass board we've got going on. And we draw another land. Okay. So, I mean, we are shields down, and they do have 5 cards in hand, so... I mean, there's ways they could win this game, but our board position is pretty commanding. All right, the opponent is coming in with a Swords to Plowshares on my Uro, and I don't think there's anything I can do about that. No attacks from the opponent. So we still have the Monarchy on our end. I guess I'll grab the basic island here. Questing Druid's a pretty good one. All right, what do I want to do here? Probably... all right, I'm just trying to, win as quickly as possible and make sure we don't time out. I'm going to attack with these guys, see what they want to do. They do have to block. Okay, so they're just going to go to 11. So I'm going to redeploy the Squee. I mean, I could just Questing Druid into a win, but the thing is that puts us out of hard casting food chain or hard casting Force of Will because we just don't quite have enough mana. So I'm just going to wait and see what happens here. We are drawing cards off the Monarchy. Orcish Bowmaster. Is this something we need to Force of Will? I mean, they want to peck some of my guys here. I guess I'll just Force of Will this. It probably results in them getting the Monarchy if we let this Orcish Bowmaster stick around, or it's conceivable that that might happen. Yep. All right, the opponent had a bit of a think for themselves over there. They're going to attack. I'm definitely going to chump the 2/2 with a Squee that can come back infinitely. They're going to Swords my Squee now. That's fine. Oh, I guess it does have Trample, so this gets them the Monarchy back. So I guess I should have blocked my Imperial Recruiters too. I forgot that these guys had Trample. But they only get to draw one more card. And here's a Leyline Binding. So what's that going to be? On my food chain or the Questing Druid? The Druid. Okay. I'm going to fetch to Thin here. I'll grab a Taiga. There's a Fury. Okay, so we need to play this Squee and Seek the Beast as well. I think I'm just... So yeah, I am going to Seek the Beast. We're not holding up anything crazily, like any Force of Wills here. So we're just going to Seek the Beast and see what this reveals. It doesn't reveal any win cons in particular. All right, well, we're going to get in there as Squee. We're going to be drawing a bunch of cards and using up a bunch of clock. That's not my favorite. We do get the Monarchy back. Okay. I'm going to be making mana and playing guys here. I'll be back. Okay, the opponent's responding to my Ice-Fang with a Dress Down. Okay, so we're not going to draw a card off of this. And my boys don't grow anymore. I'm like unclear if I can play Squee from... I must be able to play Squee from Exile, I would think. Okay. So I'm just going to do this a bit more to get the Fury into play. I guess I can get Uro into play also. It doesn't do its draw triggers, the Uro. But what it does is stay in play. So I think that's probably good enough. We just need to do a few more clicks here. Okay, so we're keeping the other Fury in hand in case we need to do some more board wiping next turn. We've got this giant board here, and so we just kind of got to fade Terminus, and I mean the One Ring would be a pretty good one too for our opponent. All right, there's the concession from our opponent. You got to appreciate them not playing to the clock, although they were probably pretty close to dead next turn. All right, so the thing about this matchup is I don't know if I even have like time to do food chain shenanigans. But Magus of the Moon seems like a banger. I mean, they are on they're on Orcish Bowmasters here. I mean, so we could not bring in the combo in or leave the combo out. And maybe just do it like this. I mean, I guess there is time to combo if I don't get drawn out into some kind of lengthy, drawn out, wacky thing. And so, I mean, Fury was okay there, but I can probably do without it. All right, I think I'm just going to board out some Ponders. We want Veils of Summer, yeah, for the Orcish Bowmasters. We got to keep in bolts to kill the Bowmasters. So we basically traded Force of Will for the easier to cast Force of Negation. We got some Hydroblasts and Veils of Summer, as I stated. And Magus of the Moon should be a bomb in this matchup. All right, we'll give this a shot here. All right, this hand has lands and spells and a Veil to protect us against a Bowmaster, maybe at some point. And the opponent's on a mulligan to 5. Wow. All right, so we just gotta, win this game and not go to time here. Ponder from the opponent. All right, they chose not to shuffle. Questing Druid's not a bad one. All right, so they don't have Bowmaster mana here. So I'm probably just gonna play Ice-Fang Coatl on my turn. Alternatively, I could fetch the basic mountain here and go for a Seek the Beast instead. But the Ice-Fang is like worse against a random Bowmaster. This seems like the best opportunity to get it in. Although we do have Veil of Summer, but we'll probably want to protect a Brainstorm as well at some point. Force of Negation's a great rip while we're tapped out here. Ponder from the opponent. So if I manage to draw a land here, I'll probably be looking at playing Uro and using that to get another mana. Otherwise, I'm just going to be looking at Seeking the Beast. We did rip the land. I am just going to... I guess I'll attack and then slam the Uro. Okay, we're in there with Uro. Let's yield to these triggers. Another food chain. Okay. And I'm just passing it back here. We're holding up Force and Veil. The opponent has an Uro of their own. That's okay. I could go for an end of turn Brainstorm here. I guess I clicked through it. All right, that's fine. Third food chain. Wow. I'm gonna Seek the Beast in my end step here. If there's like a Brainstorm, then we can do it around an Orcish Bowmaster. And that's just what we find. All right, so we can put back maybe some of these food chains. But I will keep a backup food chain. And I will pass the turn here. Brainstorm from the opponent. The opponent has Carpet here. This could let them play Uro. I don't think I care about Uro that much. I'm just going to let it happen. Our plan here is probably just to try to win with food chain. Oh, but they're just passing the turn? Oh, I guess they're short to do the Uro. Okay. Okay. Well, since they have the Carpet, I am just gonna get the mountain here and not give them extra anything extra to feed the carpet of flowers. Ooh, we ripped the Magus of the Moon. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna fetch another forest then. I don't think I need double blue so much. Yeah, so let's tap like this and get the Magus into play. All right, so the opponent's gonna be able to float a Leyline Binding here. Sadly, I cannot counter that. Oh, they're just using swords. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna attack with the Ice-Fang Coatl. And then play Questing Druid. And pass the turn here. The opponent's going for a Terminus. Do I want to fight over this Terminus? Kind of is bad for my food chain. I guess I kind of want this Brainstorm also. Although I guess I had my own Uro. Maybe... I don't know. Well, it's happened now, and we're saving Force for something else. But I think the opponent's about to play their Uro here. Yeah, they're in there with Uro. Okay, there's Squee. All right, so let's play the food chain. Okay. And then I'm gonna play Squee. And then play Uro. I'm just gonna make some mana and do that. I'll be back. Well, we'll see if something happens to the Squee here, or maybe my food chain. I guess they could bind my food chain is what could happen. All right, it looks like the Squee is in, and I've just shrunk my window to make this all faster, but I'll be back. Okay, so I've played the Uro here. It looks like Uro's in. I mean, I could Orcish Bowmaster and take out this Squee, but that's not a huge problem. But okay, it looks like we're in, and we're passing the turn here. We're racing the clock. Opponent gets a carpet trigger here. Making blue, playing Brainstorm. So they've got swords for my Uro. I'm definitely going to try to Force of Negation this. All right, the Force on the swords thankfully resolves. All right, but they have a backup Leyline Binding. Okay. So we're really hoping for like Imperial Recruiter here to win the game, basically. It's going to be hard to win otherwise in time. But I guess I will just chump block the Uro. I don't see any reason not to. Another Lightning Bolt. Well, I guess I can double bolt the Uro. Prevents me from playing Squee this turn, but what are you going to do? Okay, there's a Hydroblast, which means we get to use this Veil of Summer finally, and maybe we'll find that Imperial Recruiter, which we don't, but we do find Questing Druid. Yeah, so I will Questing Druid in the end step. I guess I'll hold open the blue in case we find a cantrip. And I'm going to play it right now when it seems like they do not have the Bowmaster. And I guess I'll put back a Lightning Bolt in a food chain. Okay. All right, so the opponent's doing their thing. They're making mana with carpet. They've got one card in hand. Okay, and they're passing the turn. All right, so we've got another chance with Seek the Beast just to try to end the game here. So we're going to hope that that happens. All right, let's Seek the Beast. That looks like a fine way to do it. There's the Imperial Recruiter. We have Veil of Summer to protect this all, so I think we're going to be okay. And so now it's just a question of if I can make enough mana in time. And I think that we have just enough time on the clock to do it. So I'm going to pause and do that here. Okay, so we're going to do it with 8 seconds to spare here. I really could have spared myself a lot of stress by just getting Hydroid Krasis. and drawn a bunch of cards and like attacked for 2 turns. But instead, we're going to win with 8 seconds on the clock here, which I guess I'm pretty happy about. Thankfully, the opponent's not in some kind of position where they could like Swords to Plowshare their own guy. Okay, well, I guess 3 seconds on the clock is what happened there. Whew, yeah, I should have just gotten the Hydroid Krasis. That was crazy. All right, round 3 on the draw. We got a good mix of spells here, so I'm going to keep. Marsh Flats from the opponent. Okay. All right, we draw the Hydroid Krasis. The opponent wants to play Drago. So we don't want to walk into a Bowmaster, but it sets us up for a nice Questing Druid, or a Seek the Beast in particular. Wasteland from the opponent, okay? So I am just going to get a Volcanic Island here and Seek the Beast. All right, so we hit Imperial Recruiter and Lightning Bolt, which we're probably not going to be able to use. And unfortunately, we're going to like walk into a Bowmaster here unless we can rip a land. Okay, well, there's a Force of Will. So that is at least something. Dark Ritual from the opponent. Should I just Force of Will that? Do they have like a double Bowmaster? Like, why else would you be? They could be concerned about days. I think I'm just going to force pitching the Coatl here and try not to lose to double Bowmaster. We do thankfully find a land, and I think we can put back Hydroid Krasis. Guess keeping the Walking Ballista is okay. No, we're just going to shuffle that away. I think maybe I could have just shuffled away the Fury here. I guess I'm going to grab another Volcanic Island and play this here Ponder. And, yeah, I mean, these are some cards. All right. I will not shuffle my library. And we can at least start playing Questing Druid next turn. We didn't lose any cards off that Seek the Beast, I suppose, is the good news there. All right, the opponent's going to grief us. That's cool. All right, so they are taking Questing Druid. They're going to affirmate their grief. All right. I mean, it's not all the end of the world. So we know there's a Lightning Bolt on top of my deck, and it seems like they have Orcish Bowmaster in hand, I would have to imagine. And so I'm just going to pass the turn and try to get into a spot where we can keep Questing Druid around. Oh, they are affirmating the grief here. All right. Okay, but now we can play Questing Druid and hold up Lightning Bolt for the Bowmaster. Yeah, there it is. We'll get the Taiga. I mean, the only problem is like the second, if they have another Bowmaster, and it seems like they probably do based on that Dark Ritual line back there, we're not going to get very far on this Ponder. Goth Evil, okay. Swords to Plowshares. Okay, well, at least we can, do the thing with this here Ponder. All right, we're going to play some Ponders while the getting is good. Eerie, well, that's an interesting one in a couple turns. Yeah, I think I have to play towards the Fury. I mean, we can do it next turn. Ooh, Imperial Recruiter also. So spicy. I guess I just have to shuffle away the Recruiter, though, and keep the Scalding Tarn in hand, and then we can Fury their board, and then we're really having some fun. We're doing okay from there. I'll be happy with getting that Fury out. All right, the opponent's playing their Marsh Flats. They are getting in for 7. Now we get to fire out this Fury. I mean, they could have Oppo Agent here. That would be bad. They don't. And I will grab... I guess I'll get the Mountain. Seems fine. Now we get to take out their Grief and Voidwalker. And our board certainly looks better than theirs. Oh, but they have Touch the Spirit Realm to keep the Voidwalker around. So that's a good one for them for sure. I see. So I think their plan was to like Bowmaster and Touch the Spirit Realm back on that Dark Ritual turn. I think they could have done that. Would have worked out for them. But yeah, we need to draw an answer to this Voidwalker in a hurry. And they have an answer for my Fury. All right. Well, that's the way it goes sometimes. Okay, they got us. All right, so what do we want to do against this black-white scam deck? Obviously, Veil of Summer. So are they playing Reanimate effects? I guess you'd have to assume that they are, right? And that, like, Force of Will's not very good. I mean, if they're reanimating a huge fatty, then you kind of do want Force of Will, but I think we just have to settle for the Macabres. And then the other thing is that they play like they did last game. They're going to be susceptible to Magus of the Moon, although they probably play some basics. But Uro is generally good against discard, just not Gothy Voidwalker. But yeah, maybe one Magus of the Moon is okay here. All right, let's give this a shot. All right, so we're on the play. This hand has grinding power, so I mean, I like that. And yeah, I'm just gonna play the Ponder here. And we are finding more lands and Fury. This seems like good stuff. So we could potentially Seek the Beast into Fury if needed. We have all the ingredients to go off. I guess I'm going to keep Fury at the bottom. Like, I don't want them to Thoughtseize my Fury and then somehow reanimate it. Okay, they are just going to Wasteland me. So that'll stop us from just going off on turn 3, unfortunately. We are going to get griefed. They do take the Questing Druid. Okay. And are we reanimating the grief? It looks like something's happening. Yeah, they sure are. Okay. So they get to take something else here. Gonna be the Imperial Recruiter. So Fury seems okay. But what we really want to do is, man, just get Food Chain down and win. So I think it is a shuffle. But what do I want to get here? Like, are they going to have another Wasteland? And it's either Island or Forest. I guess I'm going to get the Forest here. And hope to draw more lands. Okay. I mean, we're just like one land away from being in a great spot. Okay, they're flashing back the Touch of the Spirit Realm, so they get to make us discard a card. All right, so we're not about to go off anymore. And there's the Magus of the Moon. If I could just draw another mana, anyone will do. Voidwalker. Well, now they have a bunch of boys that we can't really block. And now I need that Fury. Okay, Lightning Bolt. Let's take out the Voidwalker. If I can just get one more mana, we'll be in great shape. Certainly good enough shape. Come on, opponent, just pass the turn here. Don't do anything else. Okay. Show me a land. There's a Fury. I mean, I could Fury the Grief right now. I'm gonna try to avoid that. Okay. So I'm glad we waited. So they're getting in for 5 here. So please do nothing, opponent. Although, okay. Well, Veil maybe an okay one. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna pitch an Imperial Recruiter, and we might still be able to Magus our opponent out of the game here. But Touch the Spirit Realm is just crazily good if they happen to have that again. It looks like it's just gonna happen. No, they do have the Affirmate. Okay. Yeah, man. We just cannot, we can't beat these draws, sadly. So I could use the Veil of Summer. We don't even get to draw a card, though. All right, I guess we're going to use the Veil of Summer, and like at least if I draw the land, we can play the Uro. But they get to rebound it again anyway, so I don't know. Orcish Bowmaster. All right, well, if the opponent didn't have that Wasteland, then we would have had it. But otherwise, this deck came in a little too hot there. I mean, it seems like a matchup you could win. But you would need things to go slightly better than they did. And they have another Wasteland. Okay. All right, they got us. Okay. On the draw again. I think we've lost every die roll, but that is the way it goes sometimes. We do have like a hand with Force of Will, so I'm just going to keep. And, you know, some spells. Personal Tutor. Okay. I mean, I guess I'd rather save my counterspell for their Doomsday. All right, I guess I'm gonna play out the Snow Forest. I was thinking I would play out the Snow Mountain. Like, it'd be nice if our opponent just went for it on this Doomsday and didn't, you know, try to dig for a Duress or something, which the Snow Mountain might make them want to do. Here's a Force of Will. But we drew the Ice-Fang. Okay, well, they've got Veil anyway, so they are protected. But yeah, I drew the Ice-Fang, so we have to position ourselves to play the Ice-Fang here. Depending on their Doomsday pile, there's like some wild chance. I mean, we could, in theory, rip, you know, draw Food Chain, and, you know, maybe they pass the turn back to us. And if we get to our turn 3 and somehow rip a Food Chain, you know, we have a prayer is what I'm saying. All right, it looks like our opponent's playing a pretty standard Doomsday pile, except they are playing a couple of copies of the One Ring, which is certainly a fine thing to Dark Ritual into, besides Doomsday. Okay. All right, well, we draw a land. I mean, probably what we're going to want to do here is concede. I don't know. I guess I can try to get the Ice-Fang. I mean, they might not be able to guess quite what we're up to, but the more information we give them, and they do know we're a blue-green Uro deck, but I guess they are giving me a chance here. if we draw like Food Chain and then Squee or, you know, one of the combo pieces here. So I guess let's do that. Well, that is not one of the combo pieces. That is a Force of Will. Well, I'd have to imagine that they're going to have a line that can beat Force of Will. But I guess I'm going to go ahead and recruit for a blue card here. And I guess it might as well be another Ice-Fang. I mean, the other choice is the Hydroid Krasis. But yeah, we need something to pitch to Force of Will. Well, they have a Thoughtseize, so that's probably going to answer the Force, huh? Paying some life, so they must have it here. It looks like they do. Man, all right, they do have the Cavern. Okay. And let's just see the Thassa's Oracle, and that'll win them the game. Okay. So we do have some cards we can bring in. They were on the One Ring, so I guess I don't hate the Ouphe. And so like Furies and Lightning Bolts, I would start by boarding those out. So we need 4 more cuts. I can't really cut. I mean, I'd be tempted to cut Ice-Fang Coatl. Questing Druid can at least pressure them. Their life total, which could matter. You know, I guess the Ouphe. No, I do need the Ouphe because of the One Ring. If it was a regular Doomsday pile without the One Ring, then you probably don't need Ouphe for the the 1 Lion's Eye Diamond in their deck. I mean, we're just a little low on blue cards in this version here. I mean, only 18. I think, I mean, 18 is an acceptable amount. So I don't love it. I'll just deal with it. And this is a fine-looking controlling hand here. I'll definitely Pyroblast anything here that presents itself as a possible target. All right, the opponent goes Underground Sea into Ponder, and that is a red elemental blast target. The opponent does want to daze this. I think we'll have to let them have their Ponder here and save Force of Negation for a bigger fish. Okay, the opponent does end up shuffling off that Ponder, and they pass it back on to us. Another red elemental blast. I don't hate it. I guess I'll play out this Wooded Foothills and pass here. All right, polluted Delta and pass from the opponent. So I could Brainstorm right here. I think I'll just wait till my turn. Okay, there's Questing Druid. I mean, I would like to have just, you know, the clock in play. That seems really good against Doomsday. A clock. So do I want to go for that? I think I am actually just going to fire out this Questing Druid. I'm trying to, like, out-combo this Doomsday deck. I mean, it is like a value play, but having a threat that does damage against the deck that loses half its life and not dirtling around. We have a couple, you know, things here. Control spells. So I think this is a reasonable strategy. Okay. Questing Druid is in. All right, the opponent is cracking a Delta. They do have the Carpet. Do I want to force this Carpet? They're going to get 2 mana off of it. I guess I don't want to force the Carpet. It's a Dark Ritual, and it's a good one to be sure. But I want to force like the One Ring or Doomsday. All right, we're going into their second main. We're going to set up the old auto yield to the Carpet trigger. Okay, and then they elect to just pass the turn. All right, Ponder, that's a good start. That'll grow our Questing Druid. Collector Ouphe. And another Questing Druid. Those are interesting things. So there's no real bomb to recruit for here. For this matchup. But what I could do is take the Questing Druid. Well, if we seek the beast, it's not that different than just playing the Collector Ouphe, because we're not really about to use the Imperial Recruiter. You know, maybe this is just a shuffle. Although the Collector Ouphe would be a bomb. I could just slam the Collector Ouphe right now. But then I'm not holding up the red Elemental Blast. Well, what are the chances they actually have the One Ring here is the question. I mean, if so, this Collector Ouphe is a bomb. We are at least somewhat pressuring their life total. Otherwise, I mean, if they I mean, I guess one turn of them playing the One Ring isn't a huge deal. I don't know. I guess I kind of want to shuffle. Although, man, this Collector Ouphe could be really good if they're on the One Ring. Okay. All right. I guess I'm just going to keep the Ouphe here. I mean, it at least is power added to the board. I'll do this attack with Questing Druid. And then it is shields down a little bit here. I guess Recruiter for Magus of the Moon is potentially a bomb. And maybe... I mean, if it's going to be hard to make that happen, I suppose. Anyway. All right, we're getting in for 2. And I'm just going to jam the Ouphe here. And I guess we'll see if they are on the One Ring. And it looks like they're not, because they did not care about this Ouphe at all. Okay, so they're tapping a bunch of mana. And here's Sheoldred the Apocalypse. Well, that's kind of bad news. And a Ponder from the opponent. Okay, so the strat here is going to be to try to win with Food Chain, I think. So I don't see ourselves attacking this turn. But I guess I will seek the beast right now. That at least doesn't trigger the Sheoldred. Drew some Imperial Recruiters. Well, here's a Doomsday from the opponent, so I'm definitely going to force this, and that does grow the Questing Druid. The opponent has the Veil, so that Doomsday's happening. All right, so the opponents resolve their Doomsday. Now they're going to Ponder, and it can't be countered, right, because of the red Elemental Blast. So are they just going to be able to win this turn? Going to gain some life off Sheoldred. Thoughtseize. I mean, I guess I'm going to Brainstorm in response here. And then take a Giant L to the Sheoldred. But if they, like, pass the turn and we somehow set up a Food Chain, it looks like we're not going to. Okay, so we can hide Ponder. We can still Ponder into Food Chain here and maybe win the game if they pass the turn back. So they take the red Elemental Blast, as you would expect. Okay, and here is the passing of the turn. So I'm going to play the island. And I mean, I think I just have to ponder for food chain, right? I mean, I could Questing Druid and then ponder or something and try to get more threats on the board. I think we just have to pray for a food chain here. So cross your fingers at home, folks. All right, this ponder's resolving. We found Magus of the Moon. I think that's as good as it's gonna get. I mean, I could shuffle. I mean, Magus of the Moon could actually potentially win this game, though, right? Because it might shut them off. No, they'll have a blue mana for their Thassa's Oracle. They'll have like one from the island and one from the Carpet of Flowers. So Magus of the Moon maybe just doesn't do it. Unfortunately, I have this basic island in play. And I was just checking out Edge of Autumn here, so it is just sacrifice any land. It's not like turning their islands into mountains shuts off their ability to Edge of Autumn into something. Yeah, so I guess I am just gonna shuffle, and yeah, we're still praying for food chain. We don't get there on. But we do draw this land. But we can Imperial Recruiter. And then we're at least trying to get them into a position where they have to block Questing Druid with a Shieldred, I guess. Well, I think they can probably just win with their Doomsday. I don't think any of this really matters. I mean, I could get the Magus of the Moon for fun at this point. And Walking Ballista maybe pokes for a couple extra points of damages somehow. I mean, there's just no chance of me comboing off from this point, right? So I guess, I mean, I could just get the Questing Druid. I mean, I guess that gives me an outside shot of somehow comboing off, right? All right, I'll get the Questing Druid. And I'm going to attack with this Questing Druid, one that's in play. All right, so they elect to just take 4 off the Questing Druid. They do gain some life back off the Shieldred. I mean, I would expect that they have to be planning on winning this turn. But we'll see. You make a bunch of blue. Brainstorm. Okay, so they're going to just draw Thassa's Oracle and play it here, I believe. So we resolve a bunch of Shieldred triggers. They gain some life. Here's the Consider. And here's the Thassa's Oracle off a cavern. Yeah, they got it. All right, round 5, and we're on the play. Playing for the winning record here. And we've got a nice hand of lands and spells. All right, the opponent has mulligan to 6, and we're just going to start by fetching for a basic island and playing a ponder. So here's the ponder, a fury, and 2 lands. I don't think that is that exciting, although fury is potentially crazily good, but we did draw this lightning bolt as some kind of creature removal anyway. All right, it's an ancient tomb strat. Well, fury is sometimes good against those. All right, double Lotus Petal. Minsk and Boo. Okay. So it's going to be the old red-green, like, initiative, stompy. And unfortunately, we don't immediately have an answer. to this Minskin Boo. All right, so I'm gonna Brainstorm. Yeah, now I wish I had the Fury. But okay, well, we found the Fury. How about that? Okay, so we have all the ingredients we need to win here. We just need to. Just trying to think. We just don't. We'll have to win on turn 4, but I mean, I think that's going to be okay. And so, yeah, putting back a land is fine. And so, what do I want more here? The question is like Brainstorm or Lightning Bolt? In Lightning Bolt is some kind of interaction, although we could potentially Brainstorm into something. What we need to do is not lose to Blood Moon. I think the Lightning Bolt's probably better at just making sure we stay alive. All right. Okay, so let's gonna do it like this. Exile the Squee. Take out the Minskin Boo. And we're done for this turn. So we're gonna take some beat down from this hamster. But then we're gonna play Food Chain next turn. Should be in the clear from there. Boseiju. Okay. Well, I'm glad that they did not keep the Boseiju in hand, although the opponent maybe just doesn't quite know what's going on. I guess I'll just grab the forest here. Ice-Fang Coatl. It's not a bad one, but that just doesn't really let us Food Chain into the win. We just have to play Food Chain here and hope they don't have Boseiju. Although we do have Ice-Fang as a blocker for this Boo token if things go south. All right. I think the Taiga is fine here. I suppose if they are playing Wasteland somehow, we can climb the Food Chain with Ice-Fang Coatl. Although maybe I should have gotten the Snow-Covered Mountain to make sure that the Coatl is on. But they attack us down to 5. I don't think they can deal 5 more damage. It looks like they cannot. Okay, so we're in the clear here. We can just recruit for the Ballista and go infinite with Squee. Unless they Boseiju the Food Chain right here. There's a Ballista. Let's do the thing with Squee. Okay, and we'll see if the opponent wants to play it out here. Looks like the opponent's F6ing here. And making us play it out, and that's fine. Okay, so I've made an 18-18 here, and I think I'm just gonna pass the turn rather than use up more clock and see if they want to concede or what they want to do here. Okay, there's a concession. That saves me like 18 more clicks. Okay, so for this matchup, Force of Negation, Hydroblast, those are certainly good ones. So this is a matchup where I'm not super excited to board anything out. Like Ice-Fang Coatl is good against the initiative because it can, you can play it on your opponent's end step. Attack for 1, and then Lightning Bolt their Caves of Chaos Adventurer. So I guess I'm looking at trimming Questing Druid. I mean, they're going to be like a fast deck, and this thing is just a little slow on generating value. So I guess we'll do that. So the opponent's mulligan to 6. In our opener, I think it's just a little too dirtily for this kind of matchup. We're looking for like Fury or Force of Will or Hydroblast or Lightning Bolt. Okay. I think I'm gonna keep here and bottom the Walking Ballista. It would be nice to have for the purposes of comboing out. But yeah, we're just a ways away from doing that here. The opponent's on a City of Traders. Is it another turn 1 Minskin No, it's an Undermountain Adventurer. Okay. So what we can do here is ponder for a red card and then pitch Fury to take out this Undermountain Adventurer. This is the green initiative guy if you haven't seen it before, but it's 3/4 and has vigilance, so it doesn't tap when it attacks. And it makes green mana. And it makes a whole bunch of green mana if they've made it the whole way through the Undercity here. Okay. Well, there's a food chain. So the opponent deck does play Blood Moons or Magus of the Moons. I'm just going to ponder looking for a red card. We don't get there. And we don't really have a way to take off with this Walking Ballista in the food chain. I think this has to be a shuffle. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can at least challenge the initiative with these Ice-Fang Coatls. Ooh, they're scrying instead of juicing their guy with a forge. So that's good news. We still have a window to draw a red card and Fury this Undermountain Adventurer and then take back the initiative with Ice-Fang Coatl. We're going to 16. Do they have an exciting follow-up? They do not. Okay. So I could Ice-Fang Coatl right now and maybe find that red card. It takes away the surprise attack of the Ice-Fang, but I think that is worth it. If we find the red card. We do find the red card. Yeah, I think we just have to do this. I mean, we could wait a turn, but we don't really have a way to food chain our way up to playing these Furies, hard casting them. And we'll be happier if this thing is dead. Okay. All right. Okay, so they make a treasure token from the stash on their turn. I mean, the fact that they went to the Lost Well instead of juicing their Undermountain Adventure would indicate they're lacking in follow-up threats. But they're tapping some mana here, so I would say something's coming down. And that something is a Simian Spirit Guide. Okay. So yeah, it does seem like they're lacking in threats here. So we can attack with the Ice-Fang Coatl. And get back the initiative here. So I'm probably going to grab the basic island and play it. And then so we can trade Ice-Fang Coatl with their Simian Spirit Guide and Hydroblast something like a Minskin or a Chaos Adventurer. And that all sounds good to me. I guess I'm happy enough just to trade this Ice-Fang with their Simian Spirit Guide and not let them get the initiative back. Brainstorm, okay. So we're going to brainstorm on their end step and then decide if we want to forge our Ice-Fang Coatl or if we're trying to dig towards comboing off with Food Chain. More Ice-Fangs. Well, I'd say we're not about to combo off with a Food Chain. And I don't even know if we really need it, but I guess it's worth having around. All right. So I don't know if forging Ice-Fang Coatl up to a 3/3 really matters. So I think what I want to do, because I think I do want one land. I guess I'll actually just bottom both lands. We don't really need red mana with what we got going on here. And we could potentially be comboing off. Okay. We can attack with Ice-Fang Coatl. I mean, I guess if I had forged the Coatl, we would be doing a lot more damage than one. But we'll play out this other Ice-Fang Coatl. We're going to get a scary skeleton here before too long. All right, the opponent's making some kind of play over here. Yep, it's something I'm going to force a negation. They have a Pyroblast. Sad that I don't have my Hydroblast mana available, but we have another force of negation. So the One Ring in the initiative, that's not a bad idea. So let's go to the stash and get a treasure token. We'll play out our land. Attack with the Ice-Fang. I think from here, I just want to put the food chain into play. Just on their ancient tomb. And not my, oh, I can play the Ice-Fang Coatl thanks to the treasure token anyway. But I'm not too scared of their just ancient tomb. Well, I guess it's 3-color initiative. That's new. So I guess I will, end of turn, this Ice-Fang. Draw another land. Yeah, we get our 4/1 skeleton token with Menace. Brainstorm. Maybe we can win the game right now. Imperial Recruiter. That certainly comes close. Okay, so we can put them to 13. Then we can play the Recruiter. So we have 3, 6, 10 mana from the food chain. I don't know if I want to sack all of my Death Touch guys against the initiative deck to play like a Krasis, an 8/8 Hydroid Krasis. I think the Ice-Fang Coatl has to be pretty good against what they're doing, and I think I'm just going to grab that. Alternatively, we could grab this Walking Ballista. They are pretty close to dead next turn. Because next turn I can make, this is going to be 10 mana from the creatures. Okay, the opponent's ready to concede. All right, so that was the old 3-2 finish. That's a little disappointing. I think that's the first time I haven't gotten 4-1 with the deck. Okay, so this league was all feast or famine, either winning or losing every matchup 2-0 or 0-2. With regards to the deck, so I think the main deck was pretty good in that playing 3 food chain worked out fine. We certainly experienced some woes against the unfair strategies. I mean, I guess we're never going to have like a super positive matchup against the myriad of unfair strategies that are out there. I mean, a card like Shield Druid out of Doomsday is just pretty unbeatable. With that said, I mean, I think we came close to beating that black-white scam deck. If we just hadn't gotten wastelanded, we could have made it to turn 3, I believe, in game 2, and then had a crack at, winning the match in game 3. So the 3 food chains I liked. I think doubling up on the Magus of the Moon and the Collector Ouphe, that wasn't doing us any favors. Endurance would have been a card against Doomsday. There is this thing where if you seek the beast and hit Faerie Macabre, you can't actually use it because you have to discard Faerie Macabre from your hand. And then I forgot to mention that I did not play Carpet of Flowers, which we didn't miss today, but we also didn't play against any tempo decks. So just the one idea I have is to play the 4th food chain in the sideboard to bring in against unfair decks. And then we're just, the main deck is designed to beat fair decks, and that's what it's going to do. And then just how to engineer these last couple sideboard slots. I mean, we didn't miss Force of Vigor pretty much at all. Force of Negation, it was okay. It countered the One Ring against the Initiative. It was a fine card to bring in against Mono Brown. It competes with Flusterstorm as a sideboard slot. And Flusterstorm would have been good against the Doomsday deck, but bad against the Initiative and Mono Brown. I think playing without Flusterstorm seems fine. But I don't know what to do with these last 2 sideboard slots. I mean, I think for now, probably just make them 2 copies of Endurance. Just another card to bring in against Delver. Although we have way too many cards to sideboard in. I mean, we're only really wanting to sideboard out 4 Force of Wills. And this Endurance is going to be hard to cast. I'm not quite sure. We did play against some somewhat peculiar decks. I would expect to play against more Delver and then good Ancient Tomb decks. The Red-White Initiative or Goblins and Temur Delver. We played against some unusual stuff. But I guess we're playing an unusual deck ourselves, so, we can't be too upset. All right, well, that's pretty much all I've got. I think the 3 food chain in the main deck works out well, and the one in the sideboard. I like that part of it. Perfecting the sideboard, I think, is going to take some time. But, well, that is another entry in the books, though, for Food Chain Friday. I mean, the deck is sweet. That crazy round against 4 or 5 color control there in round 2, winning with 3 seconds on the clock, was classic. All right, well, if you made it this far, please like, comment, and subscribe. And otherwise, have a great weekend. Thank you very much. All right, bye.